All right, we'll open up with an invocation, so if y'all please stand with us.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight just to first thank you for everything that you give us. Every day of life, everything that we have. We thank you for just being able to serve the town, and we do ask that you give us wisdom tonight as we go through and make decisions for the town, this great place we live in. I want to also ask you, obviously the world over the last few days have seen a lot of turmoil. I would ask that you put your hands on the world and bring us under your will. I pray these things in your Son's most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Stephen. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So public comments. So we have Miss Ann Chambers. So.
I wanted you to call Carol Hall first.
Oh, okay, no problem. Miss Carol Hall.
You go.
Give us your address in 3 minutes, please.
Okay. My name is Carol Hall, and I reside at 226 Smith Circle in the Stallings Park subdivision. I spoke before this auspicious group back on June the 9th. Pardon me, my glucose meter's going off. I spoke with you guys on June the 9th about the sober living homes that are invading our subdivision. On Sunday afternoon, two young ladies, or two women, came to my door. I did not know them, so I did not answer it. And I clearly had a sign on my door that says, "Thank you, no soliciting." So they left this document, this piece of paper, and on the envelope it said, "Thank you for allowing us to be good neighbors." And this document, which I hope you all have in your possession, because this afternoon at 1:21 I came to give this to Bridge, who promised to make copies of it so that each of you would have it. If that didn't happen, then I'm extremely disappointed. And from the looks on your faces, you have no knowledge, so I will proceed. It says, "Good neighbor policy and procedure. It is our policy to conduct the residents in an appropriate manner respecting the neighbors and the neighborhood we operate in." Then it says, concerned neighbors can be directed to residence managers. And it gives the name and number of an individual. And at the bottom, it says contact information, this person, resident and property manager. That's indicative to me that this is a business. When I contacted this individual Sunday afternoon, she implored me not to refer to these homes as sober living homes. Why not, if that's what they are? She proceeded to indicate that there are 6 females in one resident, 6 males in another, and that she spends all day with one home or the other, indicating that each of these individuals are tested twice a day. By whom? By whom? By her, or by a certified laboratory for their sobriety, or for their ability to be free of drugs. Now, I mentioned here on June the 9th that you guys opposed House Bill 765, which was in the North Carolina General Assembly. And I indicated that that bill has not yet been passed. And I come to find out that you guys opposed it on April the 28th, and Currituck County opposed it on May the 5th. So there is a growing resentment among smaller communities to have Raleigh dictate to smaller towns how you can run your towns. And you have these council meetings so that members of the community can come before you and have their voices heard. I know that you're probably tired of seeing my face and hearing the subject about sober living homes, but we are concerned because there's currently 3, now there's word that there is a 4th. And because of this invasion, this inundation, this oversaturation of sober living homes, there are 2 residents who are now putting their house up for sale as a direct result of what is going on in this small subdivision. One particular family is behind all of this, and they are gobbling up properties, and they are overtaking what, for me, a 52-year existence in this town. My father was instrumental in getting the ball rolling for Stallings to become a municipality. Check your history books. He wasn't a very pleasant man, but he made great strides in helping all of this to come about. So I also received a phone call from a neighbor down the street indicating that a gentleman who approached him in his yard said, "Hey, I'm from the sober living home and I need a ride to Monroe." Well, that sort of thing is supposed to be taken care of by the sober living home. They're supposed to, according to this April woman, provide them with transportation to and from AA meetings or whatever else their requirements on a day-to-day basis are. So if that's the case, why was this young man approaching a neighbor 2 or 3 houses down from me? So I will say again, I'm extremely disappointed that if you do not have this document in your hand, I will find another way to make it happen. I know that my time is waning with you, and I don't know that any of you are actually paying attention to anything I'm saying, so I'm going to conclude my comments.
Can I ask a question?
You certainly may.
When people come up here to make comments, we often, or at least I do, like to ask, I mean, sometimes people come up, just say their piece, and that's it. But you're obviously looking for an action.
Truly,
So what is it that you would like us to do?
I would like for, in your agenda, because currently you do not have terminology or ordinances or zoning laws that govern sober living homes. And ideally, any reasonable person, and that's a moderate gauge, any reasonable person would say 4 sober living homes in a small subdivision is overwhelming.
Okay, so
We have lived, or I have at least, for 52 years in this community. We have essentially experienced peace and tranquility, and now everything is being upended. It's almost as though we're being forced to move out to make room for an entire subdivision that will be dedicated to sober living. I have nothing against, let me make that clear, nothing against people who are looking for a second or a third chance in life.
okay, so
But does it
So-
have to
so-
be an
so
oversaturation
real
where
quick, real
everyone
quick.
is adversely affected?
well, I think one of the things here, and I want to ask Melanie, is that the sober living homes are protected by the state. Is that not a true statement?
Yes, there's various, and Max is probably better to.
Okay, sorry, I put you,
I've not been asked to research it. I know that Max has. I know that there's various classifications of group homes that are protected. I don't know that sober living facility.
please, well, I mean, I think,
Not to interrupt you folks, because I do respect your authority.
Mm-hmm.
But when this document is listed with a contact that says they are a property manager, to me, that's indicative that there's a business being run here. Not a traditional home, not a traditional residence. It is actually a business. They are making sure that these people are being tested. If what was told comes to be true, if they're actually being tested twice a week, and they're being given transportation to and from AA meetings or whatever else is going on. This is a business. I'm sorry.
Mayor.
You'll never convince me any differently.
Ms. Hall,
Yes, sir.
I'm interested, but thank you. I'd like to hear the second speaker as well, and then I think staff has done some work on this since our last meeting, and I think it's maybe time to hear the staff report. Max, is that you?
That would be greatly
Ma-
appreciated, sir,
you,
because
Ms.
so
Hall.
far, there's
understand.
been nothing.
Yeah, understand. So maybe we can share some information. It may not be sufficient and complete yet, but maybe we've got two speakers, and then we can talk about what staff has done. Does that need an agenda item, or can we do that at the end of this public hearing?
It would need, if we're gonna have a discussion, an agenda item.
Does staff have a report?
I think we can provide an update. My understanding is that there's some legal research that's still being done at this time by our land use attorney. So we can provide an update as far as status of where we're at. But I don't think we're prepared to discuss the item in fully tonight. But we
Okay.
can be on a future agenda.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Chambers?
Thank you. My name is Ann Chambers, and I live at 225 Smith Circle. I've lived there for over 40 years. I raised my kids there. I'm raising my grandchildren are there a lot of time. I think I second all the stuff that Carol said, but I also would like to know where I can go to get facts, real facts. Because when this whole thing started, it was presented to us that the owners had designated these as sober living homes. Well, now, according to what Carol has been told, they're saying, don't call them sober living homes. That's not what they are. So what are they? And I guess I want to know, I mean, how do I go about finding out, or if I even can, who are the people living there? Where are they coming from? Do I have to be concerned about my grandchildren playing in my backyard? Because one of these houses backs up to my backyard. And one of the things on the paper that Carol has says that the residents have been instructed if they're going to smoke and congregate, they do it in the backyard. Well, that's not good for me. They're right there in my backyard, and my grandchildren and other children in the neighborhood are playing in that yard. Do I need to be concerned about who's there? I guess that's my thing. You know, and then you go to where, okay, right now, it looks like there's two of the houses that have residents in them. The one that's next to me doesn't have anybody yet. So is it going to be a sober living house or is it not? And now there's rumors in the neighborhood, okay, there's another house. So how do we find out the facts, you know, and what's really going on?
All right, thank you, Ms. Chambers. As Alex said, the town manager, our staff is researching it, correct, Alex?
That's right. Mr. Strong, do you want to add anything?
So Matt Dillard, our code enforcement officer, is continuing his research on the suspected resident houses. There's limitations that we have because specific residents, like homeowner residents, renters' rights, and things like that. So we're trying to also make sure we do everything legally appropriate. I know that they came to council on June 9th, but we've been researching it for over a month. And we've been talking to the suspected homeowners. We currently don't have sober living homes in our ordinance. We're bringing a text amendment tonight to add that. During staff research, we concluded that sober living residences are the most closely related to our family care homes, which are in our ordinances. Under North Carolina state statute, you're allowed to have up to 6 individuals in a family care home or sober living residence. And then we did request them to get use permits for that. And then if you have over 7, then that's considered a group home. And then you'd also have to get a special use permit for that. we're still continuing to research this, but the suspected sober living residences have told me that they are not sober living residences. They are doing, and I don't know, we're still continuing researching. So what they're saying is that they're only renting out individual rooms to tenants. And that's not against our ordinance. There's not against housing code or anything like that. I'm just telling you what they said. We're still conducting research, and we have to do it legally. It takes time. And if we do find any violations, then it's like 30 business days, or excuse me, 30 days to then kind of come into compliance and so forth. So I'm just giving you a very general.
Are they all
history.
owned, as Ms. Hall said, by the same
Yeah,
individual?
is there common ownership of these?
So we do know, we don't know if they're in the same family, but we do know they all know each other, all the residences. But we have not been able to verify that. So, yeah, we have not been able to verify that at this time. But they're saying they're just renters. So property managers are allowed to, rent out homes for living. Now, we have been by these properties. We've asked for specific documents from these properties and things like that, and that has taken up time. We are continuing doing research. We're not ready to do a report today on this.
All right. Thank you, Max.
Yeah.
Max, are you also looking into the, sorry, Mayor, concentration of, is that even illegal to?
It's not legal to do that, but for group homes, but not for,
If it's a family care home, you can only have one half-mile radius of an existing family care.
yeah. So I was aware of the group home thing. Our ordinance specifically doesn't have the distance, but state statute, that's why we're continuing doing research.
Okay, so
And
we're,
our land use attorney's researching it as well for us. We
Yeah.
just don't have a final report.
So if I may, just sitting here, I heard, the lady sitting here, you've lived here for, I think, 50 years, Ms. Hall? 52, thank you. And Ms. Chambers, I have you lived 45, is that right?
Close to
Um,
45.
You've raised your kids there, heard you say you raised your grandkids there. I get that, For us, we don't live there. I get that it's your homes. You've lived there. It's a part of your lives. It's part of you, right?
Well, and I hope to die there. That's one thing, I mean.
Many
I've
years from
told
now.
my kids that I don't want to have to go anywhere else at this point in my life.
I totally get that. I understand. We hear you. We heard you last time. This is not something we put on the back burner. I think what we're trying to balance is doing a thorough investigation because we hear you. We hear how important it is to y'all. At the same time, we have to abide by legal standards to kind of find that proof. Like you said, Ms. Chambers, find the facts. And that's what we're trying to do now. I know it's not satisfactory that it's not done yet. I apologize for that. But I know Max and his team are working as quickly as they can. Try to kind of get to the bottom of this and figure it out while still, doing it ethically and legally. And you have my word that we'll continue to do that, and we'll follow up with you when we find that out. I'm sorry we are where we are, but you have my word that we'll do the best that we can.
All right.
Video stating that we're gonna hold it to it.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
About this memo, did any of you receive it?
No, ma'am. All right.
Okay, please ask Bridge about it, because if she didn't give it to
Who-
you, I will
who's
make sure
Bridge?
that Matt gets it, because you
Okay.
guys need to read this folder off.
Absolutely, we'll get it. If it was 1 o'clock this afternoon, there've been a number of meetings since
Well,
then.
Bridge was at lunch, so a young lady claimed to have made copies, and she brought the original back to me.
We'll make sure we get it. Thank you for making us aware, Ms. Hall.
All right, thank you, Alex. Next up is our consent agenda. So we have the stop sign ordinance update, amended budget number ordinance 22 for the Stinson Farms condemnation.
Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Yeah, the third one is amended budget ordinance 23, subscription-based information for technology arrangements and leases. So a motion to approve consent agenda by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, the agenda approval, any changes or additions, deletions?
Move approval of
Aye.
the agenda.
All right, motion by Mr. Richardson to approve the agenda as written,
Second.
second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, first up is our charter change ordinance to amend.
Move approval of the charter change to reduce Councilmember Graham's district to a 2-year term Do we need to do anything else with that?
You still good with that?
For the, is there an ordinance somewhere?
Yeah, there's, page 13.
Sorry, let me get
Yeah,
there.
I'm getting there.
I
Let's
think
see.
we're all on the same page with it. I'll just go quick. Amended, oh, wrong one. Yeah, there we go.
There it
I
is.
recommend approval of an ordinance amending the town of Stallings charter to change one council seat term for one election cycle.
I got a motion by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Hall. The town council hereby amends section 5 of the town charter to add that the 2025 fall general election, the term of office for council district seat 1 shall be for a 2-year term and return to a 4-year term for the 2027 fall general election. So we have a motion by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Hall to vote in favor of this, to approve this. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, thank y'all. Next up is Katie King, text amendment 25.05.01, table of uses update. So, let's see. Public hearing, so we got that. How you doing?
Hi. All right, so this is text amendment TX 250501, where staff is proposing an update to the table of uses in Article 8 of the Stallings Development Ordinance. This update was originally developed at the request of council following several vape shops located in Stallings. Our current use table does not include that use, meaning that it would fall under the use category for retail sales not otherwise listed. Council directed planning staff to research regulations for vape, tobacco, and other similar uses. That research into surrounding jurisdictions led us to identify several gaps and inconsistencies throughout our use table. The goal of this review was to answer council's request, as well as clean up the use table by eliminating redundancies, consolidating similar or overlapping uses, and introduce a few new uses that better reflect today's development patterns and recent zoning requests. To support these changes, we've also revised and expanded several definitions in Article 3 to ensure consistency throughout the ordinance, and Planning Board did recommend their approval at their May meeting. In this document, if you guys are following along, the highlighted sections are the new uses or changes that affect the regulations. All the other changes are just like removing duplicates or combining other uses together. Okay, so in this amendment, multiple uses were consolidated to simplify the table. For example, all auto-related uses such as auto supply sales, dealers, and repair services have been expanded to include boats, RVs, and motorcycles, since they follow the same supplemental regulations. Several new uses were also introduced with corresponding definitions. These include cigar and hookah lounges, which are primarily for on-site smoking and the retail sale of related goods. Another use is vape, CBD, and tobacco sales, which sells tobacco, CBD, or related products for off-site consumption. And as these uses cannot be completely eliminated from the table of uses, we have limited it to the industrial district to cause the least impact to the community. Also, multi-tenant buildings, which allow 2 or more businesses in one building and can either be classified as retail or light industrial, depending on the makeup of those businesses.
Say that one more time.
So multi-tenant buildings, so you can have more than one building or more than one business located in one building. And depending on what is in each building, it can either be retail or light industrial.
Okay.
And then finally, live-work units, which are retail or office units with residential units either above them or on the same property. And these will require a conditional zoning, just like our townhomes do. Okay, and then other updates include small changes to our existing definitions for family care home and group care facility. We have received several questions about sober living homes locating in Stallings. The definition for family care home clarifies that it includes sober living homes with 6 or fewer residents, as these are protected by general statutes and cannot be restricted. The definition for group care facilities differs in that they are licensed by North Carolina and they do not include the small sober living homes. But overall, This update responds directly to council's request to research certain uses, but goes a step further to make the table of uses a more accurate, useful tool for planning future development in Stallings. These amendments aim to better reflect how the community is changing while keeping our zoning ordinance functional and clear. Staff recommends approval of TX 250501, as we believe these updates will serve our community and make it easier for residents, developers, and staff to understand what's allowed and where. Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions?
Anybody, Stephen?
So we had a meeting right before the reception where we were looking at a multi-use tented. Would these changes restrict them from having like a tobacco vaping shop in that multi-use area?
So their zoning is industrial. So if their conditional zoning does not restrict any of the tenants, they could have like a vapor tobacco type store in there, unless you added that as a condition, which you can.
So that might be something we want to add there. Okay. All right, thank you.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It's not on there, but it needs to be.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Thank you, Melanie. All right, any questions? Well, I had some for Alex, and he explained to me that we can't outlaw things, but there's several uses that are not in our table of listed of uses that we're not disallowing them, we just don't list them as allowable. And so that's my point with this. Why would we even give them a chance to be an industrial, just not list them and they're not allowed?
What the law is, if it's not listed, you have to find the use that most closely resembles that. And if there isn't one, then you have to do a text amendment or create a new use for it. You can't, you can't outlaw uses within a town. There's gotta be somewhere.
I can also provide a little addition to that. With the vape stores that have already been approved, they were classified as retail sales not otherwise listed, which is a use in our use table, which is basically, if we don't have it, that's where we go, because you have to have some definition for a use whenever somebody requests it. And that one is allowed in a variety of districts. So that's how they were able to locate without having the vape store definition already in the table.
So let's say an adult establishment wants to come to Stallings. I haven't looked up our table of uses if that's even allowed.
Yes, we have those.
And there's statutes that protect.
They are, yep, right here. They're only allowed in industrial under a special use permit.
Right, okay.
As long as it's legal.
Like I said, I don't want to prohibit it. And I understand, Alex explained to me, we put it in industrial, and that's not where they want to be, but
But Katie's point's a good one, though. 'Cause
it
if we
sounds like
don't-
that's where they.
If we don't define it, they'll go to a catch-all category that we've had to develop. That can be a lot of places, so,
This specifically catches it.
yeah.
Yeah,
if
so-
we identify other noxious uses.
So the other point
we should
that,
define it.
Stephen made, and Katie was talking about, we can place a condition. How does that work? If they're going into an industrial use, can we place some type of conditions on them? Or is zoning by right?
For like a conditional zoning,
The specific one that I was asking about is a conditional zoning, so,
The one y'all are.
Yeah,
had
yeah.
zoning,
yes, sir.
and that's the vape shop?
No, but it does have a multi-use section to it, so I was just curious.
This was an industrial parcel that because they wanted to do a small amount of self-storage, which wasn't allowed, it
Oh.
had to go through a CZ, which will allow us to say no vape.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's sort of the CZ
Okay,
process, I think.
gotcha. All righty. That was my questions. Any other questions for Katie or Max or Melanie?
The only thing is, maybe I'm being nitpicky. The only cautious, but my concern
concern is when we put that in there, some of those items are, in my opinion, are like gray zone. About adding like, at the end. Because I hate to say you can do CBD and
So like at the end of the definition, just have something that specifically
yeah, I just
says,
want, like the, provided that such. I don't want, yeah, I don't want someone to come back and say, well, Stallings says it's legal.
yeah.
Doesn't state law override everything we do in
I
Stallings?
know, I just, like I said, it's nitpicky.
Okay,
I don't have any problem with adding that, yeah.
all right.
So Melanie, do you have a comment on that?
No, I mean, I understand the concern. I think if they were selling, want to add another level of protection. I didn't know.
I don't have any problem adding that in there. I think that's fine.
All right, can somebody state it for the record, what it would sound like, Melanie or Christie?
So under that last, right, the definition in red, I want to say an establishment primarily engaged in
Okay, thank you, Graham. Any other questions, comments? All right, what's your pleasure of the council on Part A?
Can you close the public hearing?
Yes, ma'am. Close the public hearing. So what's the pleasure of text amendment 25.05.01?
Make a motion that we approve the text amendment as modified.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mr. Scholl, second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. All right, the statement of consistency and reasonableness, I'll read the last paragraph. Therefore, now the town council approves the text amendment, finding it consistent and reasonable with the comprehensive land use plan adopted on November 27, 2017, as it supports the goals of promoting quality development and ensuring compliance with the state land use regulations under North Carolina General Statute 160D. The council concludes the amendment aligns with key principles, objectives, and goals outlined in the plan for the following reasons. The proposed text amendment addresses specific uses of concern to the community and reflects the changes in our zoning districts. 2, the proposed amendment eliminates redundancies, consolidates similar uses, and minimizes the gap in the terminology used in the table of uses. Can I get a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All righty. All right, Kevin, Monroe Road widening pole betterments and sidewalk cost share. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, evening council here tonight because NCDOT has requested council's approval for funding 2 improvements associated with the Old Monroe Road widening. One of those improvements is metal pole betterments, powder coating, and the other improvement is cost sharing, filling in sidewalk gaps associated with that project. And so council agreed back in, I believe it was July of 2017, during the July 2016, excuse me, during the environmental assessment to cost share those sidewalks. And then, if you recall, this was about a little over a year ago, staff came to council about these pole betterments when NCDOT reached out and asked if we'd be interested in pursuing that as a part of this project as well. And so they're just following up with cost estimate, more accurate cost estimates associated with those improvements. So keep in mind that these could change. However, these are the most up-to-date cost estimates at this time. And NCDOT is ultimately asking if we want to keep pursuing this and that the funding will be there. And so the cost associated with the sidewalk is approximately $4,000, and then this cost associated with the powder coating of the poles is approximately $8,500. And there are 10, the only intersection that has metal poles, it will be right here at Potter, Stallings, and Monroe. And there'll be 4 traffic signal poles that are metal, and then 6 pedestrian poles that will be metal and powder coated. And so cost associated with that is about $8,500. Happy,
You may have said this, black is the
correct,
black.
Yes.
Powder coat.
correct. But
All right, any questions for Kevin?
you didn't answer anything, yep.
Do we have money in the budget? How do you?
We didn't budget for this specifically. We would have to do an ABO down the road. But again, these things could change. I believe this project is set to let for bid about this time next year. So ultimately, when it's time to give NCDOT that money for those
We got over a year
improvements.
to save up for it.
Correct. It might be next year, or it could be the following year after that. So we'll have more information as the
Well, I
project
fully
progresses.
support it. I mean, DOT dropped the ball down at the bypass and Stallings Road, and not powder coating those, but so it makes, certainly is prettier, makes the town.
Yeah.
But what's the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion to approve the Monroe Road widening pole betterments and sidewalk cost share.
All right, motion by Mr. Shoal,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Ayers, all in favor? Is that unanimous?
Yeah.
All right. All right, closed session, North Carolina General Statute 143, 318.11A6. Can I get a motion to, do we need anybody else in here? Alex, Melanie?
No, I think just us.
Us? All right,
Just the folks up here.
all right, can I get a motion?
Move that we go into closed session pursuant to 318.11A6.
All right, motion by Mr. Hall,
Second.
second by Mr. Richardson, all in favor? Ayes have it, all right.